Stop scrolling. Power begins the moment you see what others only hear. Walk into any room and feel, without forcing, who is centered and who is spinning, who hides a fracture behind a smile, who admires you in silence, who wears a mask because truth feels unsafe. This isn't magic. It's trained observation. Every blink, shift, hesitation, and breath is data. Before a word is spoken, the body broadcasts a signal. The voice carries a frequency. The face releases micro-truths faster than thought can edit. When you learn to read those signals, people stop being puzzles and become pages you can finally turn. Reading begins with behavior, not claims. Humans spoke in posture and distance long before language, and that ancient channel still carries most meaning. Build a baseline, calm shoulders, natural eye contact, breath that fits the moment. Then watch for deviation, rapid blinking, compressed lips, shallow breathing, feet angling to the exit. Difference doesn't prove deceit, it proves change. Context is your compass. Crossed arms in winter aren't defense. Quiet in chaos can be self-protection. Mastery is pattern recognition. The alignment of multiple cues into one message. Faces leak what tongues conceal. Microexpressions, anger, contempt, true sadness, flash in fractions of a second. The same across cultures because biology keeps the books. Voices confess too. Pitch climbs under tension. Pace accelerates when the mind scrambles. Volume drops when shame approaches. Pauses stretch when invention replaces memory. These aren't accusations. They're coordinates. Layer in energy. You are an antenna, always transmitting and receiving. Congruence feels warm and coherent. Deception feels fractured, like a sour chord. Your gut is compressed experience, recognizing patterns at speed. Train it. Rule 1. Read yourself first. Your state calibrates your sight. Hurry turns silence into rejection. Threat turns neutrality into attack. Stillness sharpens signal. Presence removes noise. Breathe. Soften your gaze. Ask the quiet question. What just changed? This is not manipulation. It's stewardship of attention. Invite openness. Release pressure. Choose responses that leave both people more honest than before. From now on, you don't merely listen, you see. And everything changes when you see. If you're ready to rise above the noise, like the video, it tells YouTube you're choosing awareness over autopilot. Subscribe now, and don't miss the next chapter in your evolution. And remember, the deepest transformation belongs to those who stay until the very end. Chapter 1. The silent language of energy and behavior. Before words were born, movement spoke. Before a thought could be shaped into a sentence, the body had already declared intention. You walk into a room and feel something before you can explain it. Tension, ease, attraction, falseness, safety. That sensation is not imagination. It's perception beneath language. Every human being is a transmitter of microsignals, shifts in breath, rhythm, eye dilation, shoulder angle, tone vibration. These signals form the most ancient and unedited language on Earth, the language of energy expressed through behavior. When someone stands tall, shoulders open, their field expands. When they collapse inward, arms wrapped around their own torso, their field contracts. These are not just physical postures. They are energy geometries. Shapes consciousness takes when it feels free or threatened. Energy moves through matter, and the body is matter charged with meaning. We read that meaning instinctively. You know the difference between confidence and arrogance not by the words someone uses, but by how their presence lands in your nervous system. Confidence feels grounded and steady. Arrogance feels inflated and brittle. One invites you in, the other pushes you away. Science names this process mirror neurons, cells in your brain that fire as if you are performing the movement you see in another. This is how empathy is built, the resonance between your inner state and another's. Spiritual science calls it coherence, the synchronization of two energetic fields. When you stand before someone balanced in their own energy, your body recognizes it as truth. Their stillness recalibrates your chaos. This is why presence is contagious. It's frequency transfer, not charisma. FBI agents and behavioral analysts know this language from a psychological angle. Over 60% of communication happens non-verbally. Yet they also know the deeper rule. Context is king. Crossed arms may defend, or they may comfort. Avoided eye contact might hide guilt, or it might reveal respect. What defines truth is change. Every person has a baseline, a normal rhythm when relaxed. The art is to sense deviation, a sudden stillness, a deeper exhale, a slight turn away from engagement. These are not random. They are energetic ripples following an internal event. Reading people is the study of those ripples. You can practice by observing without judgment. Watch how someone enters a room. Do they scan for safety or stride with certainty? Do they sit with ease or arrange themselves too perfectly? Observe their baseline during neutral conversation. Then watch the micro-shift when a sensitive topic arises. The voice might tighten, a hand might find the neck, a foot might angle toward the exit. These are frequencies moving through flesh. The nervous system always tells on the soul. The great mistake is assuming this knowledge makes you powerful over others. Real mastery grants power with others. You learn to honor their energy, not invade it. You read people not to manipulate, but to navigate the invisible world between words. To understand where empathy is needed, where space must be given, where truth wants to emerge, but fear still guards the gate. Imagine two people in conversation. One leans slightly forward, eyes soft, palms visible. The other mirrors without realizing it. Breath slowing to the same rhythm, posture echoing posture. This is rapport. Two frequencies in harmony. Now imagine the mirror breaks. One withdraws, shoulders turn, eyes dart. The connection fractures. Without a word, the emotional field shifts. In that instant, you can feel whether to push, pause, or pivot. Most people ignore that signal. The master reader trusts it. There's also the unseen dialogue, your own energy communicating before you speak. When you're nervous, your body compresses. When you're centered, it expands. The room responds accordingly. People may not understand why they relax around you. It's because your coherence invites theirs. Every encounter is a resonance test. You cannot fake groundedness. You can only embody it. The language of energy is not mystical. It's measurable. Heart rate variability, electromagnetic fields, micromuscular tension, all respond to emotion and intention. Spiritual traditions simply gave those measurements poetic names: aura, vibration, chi. Modern science calls them signals and frequencies. Both describe the same phenomenon, the movement of consciousness through biology. When you begin to perceive this movement, life becomes transparent. Nothing is truly hidden, it's only unread. So train your attention like a lens. Notice the spaces between gestures, the delay before someone answers, the fraction of breath held when they speak. Patterns reveal personality. Deviations reveal emotion. Never isolate a single cue. Let clusters form a chorus before deciding what they mean. The truth isn't in one note. It's in harmony or discord among many. As your awareness sharpens, humility must grow with it. You will see more, and that can be dangerous if ego interprets it. Do not weaponize perception. Awareness is sacred responsibility. The goal is not to expose others, but to elevate the quality of your interactions. When you understand behavior through energy, compassion replaces judgment. You no longer ask, "What's wrong with them?" but "What are they protecting?" Reading people, at its highest form, is reading life itself. It is learning to sense the invisible architecture beneath expression, the alignment or fracture between thought, emotion, and body. It is hearing the silent frequency of honesty and feeling the static of fear before it turns into words. Once you master this, you no longer walk through rooms full of strangers. You walk through fields of meaning. Every person becomes a signal. Every moment becomes data. And every interaction becomes an opportunity to respond with precision, grace, and strength. Chapter 2. The Face. Where emotions reveal their truth. The face is the most honest storyteller in the human body. It is the surface where emotion and energy meet, a living canvas where consciousness paints its every flicker. While words can be rehearsed, censored, or manipulated, the micro-movements of facial muscles cannot be tamed by thought. They are reflexes of truth. A mouth may form a smile, but the eyes decide whether it's real. A nod may claim agreement, but the eyebrows betray doubt. The face is both a window and a mirror. It reflects what's inside and reveals what's hidden. Psychologist Paul Ekman identified 7 universal emotions, expressed identically across all cultures: happiness, sadness, anger, fear, surprise, disgust, and contempt. These are the biological constants of humanity, the emotional DNA of our species. A person born anywhere on Earth still wrinkles their nose in disgust, widens their eyes in fear, and softens their gaze in love. It's proof that the body doesn't lie. It speaks a language older than civilization itself. Yet behind that biology, another current runs: the subtle frequency of emotion itself. Every feeling radiates electromagnetic information. When someone feels genuine joy, the energy around their face expands. Warmth moves outward, and you feel lighter in their presence. When anger rises, the energy tightens and compresses. The jaw clenches, nostrils flare, eyes sharpen. This is not merely muscle. It's energy constricting into density. If you've ever walked into a room after an argument and felt the tension in the air, you've sensed this energetic residue. Microexpressions, those tiny involuntary flashes of emotion lasting less than half a second, are the purest expression of this bridge between biology and energy. They appear before thought can interfere, before social conditioning applies the mask. The lips twitch downward before the fake smile arrives. The eyes narrow in a split second of resentment before the practiced tone of politeness resumes. Most people miss these moments because they are too busy listening to words. But the truth never speaks loudly. It flashes quietly and vanishes. To train your perception, slow your seeing. Observation isn't staring. It's awareness without demand. Watch people in conversation and notice when their face tightens, when the skin flushes, when breath pauses. The nervous system is a messenger of the soul. It always answers emotion with movement. When someone mentions a name and their eyelids flicker, there's history there. When they speak confidently, yet a muscle in their jaw trembles, the confidence is built on sand. But this knowledge is not for judgment. It's for empathy. Every micro-expression, every tiny betrayal of composure is not evidence of deceit. It's evidence of humanity. It's a soul trying to manage the weight of emotion while still belonging, still appearing safe. To see these signals with compassion is to see people not as puzzles to decode, but as beings to understand. Think of the eyes, often called the windows to the soul. Scientifically, they are extensions of the brain. Spiritually, they are portals of energy. Pupil dilation expands when attraction or fear spikes. Two faces of arousal. A narrowing gaze can mean focus or defensiveness. Rapid blinking can signal anxiety, but also overstimulation. The key is pattern, not incident. Like reading a symphony, you interpret the music only when you sense rhythm and variation together. The power of the observer lies in neutrality. When you become still enough, people reveal themselves naturally. Their face unfolds like weather across a landscape. Emotion clouds, clears, and reforms. When you stay silent, the mask tires before the truth does. The still observer always sees more than the talkative one. In spiritual science, every emotion carries a vibration, measured not just in heart rate or hormones, but in frequency. Joy vibrates faster. Shame is heavy and slow. When you look at someone's face, you're not only reading muscle, but resonance. A genuine smile lights the eyes because the energy field is expanding. An empty smile leaves them dull because the field is collapsing. That is why sincerity feels luminous. It's coherence made visible. To master the art of reading faces, practice inner clarity. The clearer you are, the clearer others become. If you are projecting your own fear, you will misinterpret others' hesitation as rejection. If you are hungry for approval, you will mistake flattery for affection. Purity of perception begins with self-awareness. You can only read truthfully from a still mind. In negotiation, love, or leadership, this ability becomes power, not to control, but to align. When you sense fear behind defiance, you can speak reassurance instead of retaliation. When you detect sadness behind silence, you can reach out before walls harden. The face becomes your compass, emotion, your map. Remember, however, that truth hides in timing. Authentic reactions are instantaneous. They rise before words, before logic. Artificial reactions arrive on delay. A real smile blooms in rhythm with the eyes. A forced one hesitates, built consciously. Genuine surprise fades quickly. Feigned surprise lingers too long. Watch for those temporal fractures, the space where energy misaligns with behavior. That is where the soul's signal leaks through. Ultimately, to read the face is to read emotion in motion, spirit sculpting biology in real time. Once you learn this, people no longer confuse you. Their politeness cannot hide their discomfort. Their flattery cannot mask their envy. Their calm cannot conceal their storm. But you won't use this to expose them. You'll use it to meet them where they are. Because when you see the truth with compassion, you don't need to confront it. Your presence itself becomes a mirror that invites honesty. To look at someone and truly see them is a rare act of love. It says, you no longer have to pretend. That is the beginning of real connection, and the face will always tell you when you've reached it. Chapter 3. Body language, the geometry of the soul. Before people speak, their bodies already reveal their stories. The spine, the shoulders, the way a person occupies space. All of it reflects the invisible map of their inner world. The body doesn't perform at random. It arranges itself according to what the soul believes it must protect or express. Posture is confession made visible. A confident person enters a room and their energy expands. Their shoulders stay open, their head aligns with their spine, and their gestures flow without friction. They are not performing confidence. They are confidence, translated through flesh. Meanwhile, another person might enter with their arms folded, gaze lowered, body angled away. They may say, "I'm fine," but their geometry whispers, contraction. You can feel it before you identify it. This is the mathematics of presence. How emotion takes shape in space. Human evolution designed this language long before words. In prehistoric times, survival depended on decoding motion, reading threat or safety from the distance of a few breaths. Today, your nervous system still does it instinctively. You sense when someone's energy fills the room, versus when it hides behind politeness. It's not intuition alone, it's millennia of biology translating energy into perception. The body's signals fall into clusters. One gesture alone says little, but a constellation of movements forms meaning. Crossed arms plus tightened jaw plus angled torso equals guardedness. Relaxed shoulders plus forward lean plus eye contact equals engagement. Like notes in a chord, the harmony or dissonance between gestures tells the truth of emotion. Start at the ground. The feet are the most honest part of the body because people rarely think to control them. When someone's feet point toward you, attention flows your way. When they point to the door, their energy has already left. It's the body's silent exit before the polite excuse. Watch how weight shifts, from heel to toe, from stillness to fidget. Impatience vibrates through motion. Calm anchors through stability. Hands reveal inner dialogue. Palms open, trust. Palms down, control. Palms hidden, uncertainty or self-protection. When people use their hands to emphasize speech, energy flows outward. When hands disappear, pockets, crossed arms behind the back, the flow retracts. Fidgeting, rubbing fingers, adjusting clothes are pacifying gestures, physical attempts to soothe an inner storm. Observe them, but never condemn them. They are humanity's natural coping rituals. Posture tells the deeper story of the self. Upright and grounded posture radiates coherence. A body aligned with its center of gravity mirrors a mind aligned with its values. Slouched shoulders and collapsed chest often signal emotional retreat, a protective folding inward. You can sense these postures even from across a room. One expands the field, the other withdraws it. The body's geometry literally shifts the electromagnetic field it emits, measurable through instruments, but also through intuition. This is why someone who stands tall and breathes evenly seems to light up a space. Their energy field is coherent, not fragmented. Mirroring is the dance of rapport. When two people connect, their nervous systems synchronize. Breath rhythm, micro-movements, tone, even heart rate begin to align. It's not imitation, it's resonance. The opposite, when one person's body stiffens while the other leans forward, signals a disconnect. If you ever feel that a conversation suddenly died, look at the body. Energy broke alignment before words did. Dominance and submission also speak through space. The dominant often claims territory, broad stance, expansive gestures, slower movements. The submissive contracts, minimizing volume, shrinking posture. Neither is inherently bad. Both are responses to perceived hierarchy. But awareness transforms both. When you learn to read these dynamics, you can shift your own posture to balance the field, grounding the overbearing, inviting the withdrawn, equalizing the room without uttering a word. In energetic terms, your body is an antenna of consciousness. Every angle, every distance, every gesture broadcasts a frequency. Confidence is an upright waveform. Fear is a jagged interference. When you align breath, spine, and intention, your signal becomes clear, and others unconsciously attune to it. This is why presence can disarm hostility. Coherence overrides chaos. Practice awareness through observation. The next time you speak with someone, soften your focus and feel their movement as a rhythm rather than analyzing it. Notice when they inhale before answering, when their shoulders rise, when their feet pull away. Let the information arrive without forcing meaning. Over time, you'll begin to sense patterns, people's emotions translating into motion before even they know what they feel. Body language is the visible fingerprint of inner energy. It's the bridge between psychology and physics, the art of translating vibration into form. To read it accurately, you must combine logic and intuition, pattern and feeling. The goal isn't to catch others, but to understand them beyond what they can explain. And remember this paradox: the more still you become, the more you notice, because stillness magnifies sensitivity. When your own body is aligned, feet grounded, breath low, shoulders released, you become a mirror so clear that others reveal themselves effortlessly. Their gestures, their micro-movements, even their silence, reflect their state back to you. Mastering body language isn't about manipulation, it's about harmony. You stop reacting to what's shown and begin responding to what's felt. You communicate in a deeper dialect, one where no sentence is spoken, yet everything is said. The silent geometry of the soul becomes visible to you, and once you can see it, you can never unsee it. Chapter 5. Deception and Dissonance. When energy breaks alignment. Lying is not only a moral act, it's a neurological and energetic disruption. The moment a person says something their body does not believe, a fracture appears between thought, emotion, and physiology. The brain splits its focus. One part invents, another conceals, and a third monitors how convincing it sounds. That division creates friction, and friction produces signals. The muscles stiffen, the tone sharpens, the rhythm falters. Even before words register, your nervous system recognizes that something doesn't fit. You call it a gut feeling. Science calls it cognitive dissonance. Energy calls it incoherence. When truth and speech align, the body flows. Breath moves freely, gestures synchronize with sentences, and the eyes move naturally as memory retrieves images. When a person lies, breath constricts, timing delays, and gestures fragment. The face might freeze for half a second longer than usual. The voice may climb in pitch or fall too flat. These are not proofs of guilt. They are signatures of inner resistance, the system straining to maintain two conflicting vibrations. Professional interrogators rely on this conflict. They know that deception is less about what is said and more about how it feels. A deceptive statement is rarely chaotic in content, but always chaotic in energy. A truthful mind retrieves. A deceptive mind constructs. The first flows from memory. The second calculates under pressure. That's why liars often over-explain, giving unnecessary detail. They fill silence because silence threatens exposure. But let's look deeper. Why does the body revolt against lying? Because at the energetic level, truth is coherence. It is the natural resonance of a system aligned with itself. A lie introduces distortion, a foreign frequency that disrupts harmony. Just as an instrument slightly out of tune produces dissonance, a lie creates interference within the electromagnetic field of the body. Your intuition senses this interference even when your logic cannot identify its source. The eyes betray the first ripple. When someone fabricates, their eye movement changes, darting sideways, breaking contact, or locking unnaturally steady. Too little gaze signals avoidance, too much signals control. Either way, The pattern deviates from baseline. Watch for the timing. Truthful reactions happen instantly because memory requires no rehearsal. Deceptive ones arrive on delay, a half-second pause as the brain edits emotion before release. That microscopic lag is where authenticity dies. Language also shifts under strain. Listen for distancing. That woman instead of my sister. The money instead of my money. This linguistic detachment is the psyche's attempt to step away from the lie, to reduce ownership of the false vibration. The same mechanism drives excessive formality. To be perfectly honest, let me be clear. I swear. Truth never needs persuasion. It resonates by itself. The need to insist on honesty is already a confession of instability. In spiritual science, this dissonance has weight. Every lie, even small, bends the energy field inward. It compresses flow, dulls clarity, and builds static between heart and mind. That's why habitual deceivers often look drained or restless. Their system spends constant energy maintaining the illusion. Coherence is efficient. Incoherence is exhausting. To tell the truth is to live in resonance. To lie is to fight the natural frequency of your own biology. For the observer, detecting deception begins with neutrality. If you enter a conversation hoping to catch a lie, you distort your own energy, and bias blinds perception. Instead, watch like water. Still, reflective, unthreatening. Notice patterns, not moments. A single gesture means nothing. Clusters tell the story. A shallow breath, a throat clear, a blink rate spike, and a delayed answer together reveal more than any single cue. Trust the sensations in your body. Your nervous system evolved to detect danger through minute energetic shifts. When someone's words and vibration diverge, your body often feels it before your mind names it. A tightening in the gut, a subtle chill, a sudden loss of focus. Don't over-rationalize those signals. Analyze later. First, register them. Intuition is data processed faster than logic. But reading deception is not a license for suspicion. It's a path to clarity and compassion. Everyone lies sometimes, to protect, to belong, to delay pain. Seeing through deception shouldn't make you harsh. It should make you wise. The goal is not to accuse, but to understand what fear the lie is defending. Often behind dishonesty is a wound that doesn't trust the world with its truth. When you perceive that, you can respond with precision. Firm, but not cruel. Energetically, truth vibrates cleanly. It feels light, transparent, effortless. Lies feel heavy, jagged, resistant. Once you've trained your sensitivity, you will sense this weight in conversation. You'll hear tension beneath calm words, feel resistance under smiles. It's not about reading minds. It's about recognizing resonance. When energy and expression misalign, deception is present, whether intentional or unconscious. In yourself, honesty becomes the training ground. Practice coherence by saying what you mean and meaning what you say. Feel how your voice changes when truth passes through you. Fuller, deeper, calmer. Notice how your body relaxes when your words match your reality. That alignment isn't just ethical, it's biological harmony. The more truthful you live, the sharper your perception becomes. You stop chasing external proof because your inner field detects truth instinctively. In a world where many wear masks, your clarity becomes rare and quietly powerful. To read deception is to read dissonance. The moment you sense that split between word and energy, you are witnessing the fracture of integrity. But you also witness the chance for healing, for coherence to return. And that, perhaps, is the deeper purpose of seeing through the lie. not to punish it, but to restore the natural rhythm of truth. Chapter 6. Personality Patterns and Energetic Blueprints. Every human being is a design of both matter and vibration, a unique constellation of thought, emotion, and rhythm. We call this pattern personality, but beneath the psychology lies something more fundamental, an energetic blueprint. It is the frequency signature of who you are when life stops distracting you. To read people accurately, you must look not only at what they do, but at the rhythm in which they do it. Patterns tell the story. Energy gives it tone. Personality is not random. It is a network of habits born from survival, shaped by environment, and refined through experience. Behavioral science captures this in models like the Big Five: openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. These traits define how a person approaches reality, whether they seek novelty or safety, order or flow, connection or solitude. But the spiritual lens sees these traits as frequencies, oscillating energies that form each person's emotional field. A person high in openness, for example, vibrates in curiosity. They radiate creative motion. Someone high in conscientiousness carries a steady hum, precise, structured, reliable. Those high in neuroticism emit volatility, a field that surges and contracts with every thought. You can feel these vibrations without hearing a single word. The Big Five is the map. Energy is the terrain. Observe how it translates physically. The open-minded move fluidly. They gesture widely, eyes exploring, bodies slightly forward, expansion mirrored in muscle. The conscientious sit upright, hands organized, movements economical. The extroverted occupy more space. Their energy radiates outward. The introverted conserve energy. They contain presence. The agreeable soften their voice and posture. The disagreeable sharpen theirs. None of these are judgments. They are patterns, and every pattern reveals how a person maintains equilibrium in a world of uncertainty. Beyond traits, personalities reveal archetypes, dominant frequencies that repeat across humanity. Psychologists call them frameworks. Philosophers call them temperaments. Energetically, they are notes in the collective human chord. The dominant type vibrates with directive energy, firm tone, decisive movement, forward posture. The influential type emits bright, quick waves, expressive, animated, rhythmic. The steady type hums in low frequency, calm breath, measured gestures, long pauses. The compliant type radiates precision, controlled movement, analytical gaze, quiet intensity. When you observe people through this lens, behavior stops being mystery and starts being music. Energetically, personality is not fixed. It's habitual vibration. When someone changes consciousness, their frequency, and thus their behavior, changes. This is why people seem transformed after profound experiences. The field recalibrates, and posture, tone, and even facial micro-movements follow. Energy leads, form obeys. To truly understand someone, you must sense the vibration that powers their personality, not the mask it wears. In relationships, this awareness is invaluable. A high-frequency person, grounded, curious, emotionally stable, expands the field of those nearby. A low-frequency person, anxious, defensive, rigid, compresses it. You feel this physically. Around some people you breathe deeper, around others your body tenses. What you feel is the friction between two emotional frequencies. Compatibility is not agreement of opinion, it's resonance of vibration. When reading personality, consistency is the key. Temporary emotion can mimic almost any trait, but true personality reveals itself over time. The calm person remains calm across chaos, the impatient rush, even in peace. Watch how people act when nobody is watching. Do they rush small moments or inhabit them? Do they speak to the waiter the same way they speak to their boss? Personality shows up most honestly when stakes are low. The study of personality also includes attachment, the energetic pattern of how one connects and protects. The secure individual radiates stability. Their body is open, gestures fluid, eye contact steady. The anxious emits a vibrating tension, always reaching outward. Movements are small but restless, tone slightly pleading. The avoidant withdraws energy inward. The face neutral, body angled away, voice flat or overly calm. These aren't flaws. They are energetic defense codes written in childhood and repeated until consciousness rewrites them. Recognizing these patterns lets you meet people where they are, rather than where you wish they were. To see personality through energy is to move beyond labeling. The introvert is not shy. They are inwardly tuned to subtle frequencies. The extrovert is not loud. They are expansive energy incarnate. The controlling are not cruel. They are afraid of chaos. The people pleaser is not weak. They are addicted to coherence at any cost. When you interpret behavior through compassion, the world becomes readable, not in judgment, but in understanding. Energy reveals motive faster than words. A person may smile while undermining you, but their vibration feels cold. Another may speak bluntly, but radiate goodwill. The field never lies. To sense it, quiet your mental chatter. When your energy is neutral, others' patterns become visible. You begin to feel the unspoken tempo of their soul, how fast they think, how deep they feel, how far they trust. Ultimately, reading personality is reading the rhythm of consciousness. You are observing the way someone manages energy, how they give, take, block, or flow with life. And when you master this perception, judgment dissolves. You stop labeling people as difficult or easy, good or bad. You simply see patterns, and patterns are teachable. You can harmonize with some, create space for others, and protect your own frequency from distortion. Because every person you meet is an ecosystem of vibration. Complex, beautiful, sometimes chaotic, always meaningful. To understand them is not to categorize them. It's to hear their music even when it plays off-key, and to remember, beneath every pattern, beneath every personality, the same current hums, the longing to be seen, safe, and free. Chapter 7. Reading context, the energy of environments. Before you can read an individual, you must learn to read the field that surrounds them. Every space holds memory. Every environment carries vibration. When you walk into a room, the temperature of emotion greets you before the people do. You can feel whether the air is charged with tension or ease, whether laughter lingers or conflict has recently occurred. This is not mysticism. It's sensitivity. Human nervous systems are exquisitely tuned instruments. They register collective energy the same way your skin registers weather. Behavior is not born in isolation. It is always a response to context, to power dynamics, hierarchy, expectation, and the invisible currents of approval or fear that flow through a space. A person in a quiet room may appear confident, but shrink in the presence of authority. The same words, tone, or gesture can mean opposite things, depending on where and when they appear. Without context, perception is incomplete. To read accurately, you must include the environment in your analysis. Start by sensing spatial energy. Observe the geometry of the room. Who sits higher? Who faces the door? Who chooses corners or open space? Power often announces itself through placement before speech begins. Notice how people orient their bodies. Those aligned toward the center are usually engaged. Those angled away often feel marginalized or defensive. Energy flows in arcs. Watch where it converges and where it avoids. Now expand to sound. The rhythm of conversation reveals hierarchy. Who interrupts without consequence? Who speaks softly, yet is heard? Who repeats themselves to gain attention? Silence is just as revealing. A room thick with unspoken tension vibrates differently. The pauses stretch, voices lower, movement stiffens. This is emotional gravity at work. Fear and dominance compress energy, while safety and enthusiasm expand it. The environment itself contributes. Lighting, temperature, and clutter affect human coherence. Bright, balanced light supports openness. Dim or harsh light breeds caution. Cold rooms constrict energy. Shoulders tighten, gestures shrink. Overcrowded spaces create energetic interference. People pull inward to protect their field. Even color influences interaction. Red quickens rhythm, blue slows it, green harmonizes. You are always in dialogue with your surroundings, whether you realize it or not. When entering a new environment, pause before engaging. Breathe and feel. Is the space loud or heavy? Do people make eye contact or avoid it? Does laughter sound natural or forced? Your body knows the truth first. If your breath shortens or your muscles tighten, the field is dense with stress. If your chest expands easily, the field is coherent. This intuitive scan lets you calibrate your approach. A calm field requires presence. A chaotic one requires grounding. Situational awareness is also awareness of power. In every group, there is an unspoken structure. Some hold influence, others follow. A few resist quietly. Reading this hierarchy is essential because emotion obeys authority. When a leader enters, energy reorganizes around them. The confident relax, the insecure brace. That ripple is immediate and physical. If you observe closely, you'll see shoulders drop, voices lower, laughter pause. That's energy aligning to the new center of gravity. But not all dominance is positional. Sometimes, the most powerful person is silent, the one others subconsciously orient around. Their stillness draws attention, like a magnet. This is energetic dominance, and it arises not from authority, but coherence. The most stable frequency governs the rest. This is why true leadership doesn't require command. It requires inner steadiness. In any room, the calmest nervous system sets the tone. When interpreting someone's behavior, always separate environmental pressure from personal tendency. A person speaking rigidly during a meeting might loosen completely during lunch. Their body didn't change. Their context did. If you misread environment as personality, you'll mistake adaptation for authenticity. Context explains at least half of what you see. Emotional climates shift minute by minute. Observe micro-weather changes, a joke that lands cold, a compliment that tightens the room, a new arrival that alters conversation. These fluctuations are data. When you track them without judgment, you become fluent in the group's unspoken dialogue. Every collective has a rhythm of openness and retreat, like breathing. Your job is to notice when it inhales, expanding into safety, and when it exhales, contracting into caution. Spiritual science calls this reading the field. Each group generates a shared electromagnetic resonance. When harmony prevails, communication flows effortlessly. When discord arises, words tangle and intentions blur. By staying centered in your own energy, you become both participant and observer, sensing how your vibration interacts with the collective. You can then choose to stabilize the room simply by grounding yourself. Coherence is contagious. To develop this sensitivity, practice entering spaces silently, cafes, offices, classrooms, and feel before you analyze. Notice what your body does. Does it open, tense, or drift? You are reading the field through your own instrument. Over time, you'll recognize patterns, how certain rooms consistently amplify joy or deplete focus, how certain people brighten a circle or dim it. This awareness turns life into a living laboratory of energy. Eventually, you'll stop seeing people as isolated personalities and start seeing them as notes interacting within a larger symphony. Some notes resonate, others clash, but none exist alone. When you understand this, judgment gives way to mastery. You no longer take someone's tone personally. You sense the environmental chord behind it. You adjust, not to please, but to harmonize. The wise observer reads not only faces and gestures, but spaces and frequencies. You'll know the moment to speak, the moment to pause, and the moment to simply let silence recalibrate the air. Because silence itself is the cleanest energy you can offer. When you learn to read context, you stop reacting to people and start responding to patterns. The world stops feeling random. It becomes symphonic. Every place hums with information, and every person within it plays their part. Your awareness becomes the conductor, steady, attuned, unshakable. Chapter 8. Emotional Intelligence, the Science of Feeling Energy. Intelligence is not only the ability to think, it's the ability to feel accurately. Emotional intelligence, EQ, is the art of perceiving energy in motion within yourself and others, and responding in a way that restores balance. It is both science and sensitivity, the nervous system's capacity to interpret vibration and the mind's wisdom to translate that vibration into empathy, clarity, and action. At its core, every emotion is energy looking for direction. Anger is energy seeking justice. Fear is energy seeking safety. Sadness is energy seeking release. Joy is energy in harmony with life. When you suppress emotion, you trap energy. When you overreact, you scatter it. Emotional intelligence is the middle path, to feel fully without drowning, to express without aggression, to observe emotion as movement, not identity. Behavioral science defines EQ in 4 domains: self-awareness, self-regulation, social awareness, and relationship management. But beneath these categories lies a deeper law of resonance. Each emotion you feel changes your electromagnetic field. Measurable shifts in heart rhythm, brainwave coherence, and hormonal balance. This field doesn't end at your skin. It extends outward, interacting with the fields of others. That's why moods are contagious. Walk into a joyful room and you rise. Enter a bitter one and you shrink. You're not imagining it. Your frequency is in training to theirs. The emotionally intelligent person recognizes this and becomes the regulator, not the reactor. When they sense tension, they ground their energy before speaking. When someone attacks, they absorb the static without returning it. Their calm recalibrates the space. This isn't weakness, it's mastery. Emotionally mature people are not void of feeling. They are fluent in it. They know the difference between emotion passing through and emotion possessing them. To cultivate emotional awareness, begin by naming sensations instead of judging them. Tightness in the chest instead of "I'm anxious." Heat in the face instead of "I'm angry." Labeling shifts energy from chaos to clarity. The prefrontal cortex activates, organizing the limbic storm into pattern. This is science, not mysticism. Awareness integrates the nervous system. When you name it, you claim it. What you claim, you can change. Next, practice coherence breathing. Slow inhales, slower exhales, to synchronize your heart and brain. Studies show this practice literally aligns electrical patterns in the body, creating measurable harmony. But beyond data, you'll feel it. Thoughts slow, perception sharpens, and empathy reactivates. You become the eye in the storm instead of the storm itself. Emotional intelligence begins in breath, because breath is the bridge between biology and consciousness. Social awareness, reading the emotions of others, requires that same stillness. When your inner field is noisy, you project instead of perceive. But when you quiet the mind, subtle cues become obvious. The micro drop in someone's tone, the flicker in their gaze, the delayed exhale after a question. You sense not only what they feel, but why. The underlying need beneath the emotion. Anger hides pain, defensiveness hides fear, sarcasm hides vulnerability. The emotionally intelligent reader sees through the mask without tearing it away. Compassion is emotional intelligence in action. It means understanding that everyone's behavior makes sense once you see their pain map. The arrogant person is protecting shame. The distant person fears rejection. The controlling person feels unsafe. When you see this clearly, judgment dissolves. You respond to energy, not story. But compassion must be paired with boundary. Empathy without discipline becomes emotional absorption. You drown in others' energy. The skill is in remaining open yet rooted, like a tree. Flexible branches, solid trunk. When someone's chaos enters your field, you breathe, center, and return to neutrality. Your steadiness becomes medicine. This is the highest form of emotional intelligence, energetic hygiene. You feel everything, but nothing owns you. Emotionally intelligent communication also respects timing. Energy must be met where it is. A person flooded with anger cannot hear logic. A person lost in grief cannot process advice. You must match frequency before guiding it higher. Speak softly into sorrow, quietly into rage, firmly into confusion. Words succeed only when delivered at the vibration the listener can receive. As your sensitivity evolves, you'll realize emotion is not an obstacle to logic, but its amplifier. Emotion adds color to truth. The goal is not to suppress feeling, but to refine it. To let emotion inform without hijacking. To let empathy lead without blinding. The emotionally intelligent person doesn't chase constant calm. They cultivate conscious range. They can enter depth without losing center, because they trust emotion as movement, not identity. Spiritual science reminds us, emotion is energy in motion, emotion. When you resist it, it stagnates and becomes illness. When you chase it, it burns out as impulse. When you witness it, it transforms into wisdom. Every wave of emotion carries information from your subconscious, whispering what still needs alignment. Listening to those whispers is not indulgence, it's evolution. Ultimately, emotional intelligence is the mastery of inner frequency. When you regulate your energy, you regulate reality. Conversations become clearer, conflicts de-escalate, creativity expands. You stop leaking power through reactivity and start generating influence through coherence. And when you reach that level, you'll notice something extraordinary. The more emotionally intelligent you become, the quieter your presence grows, not because you feel less, but because you no longer need to broadcast. Your energy speaks with calm precision, and others unconsciously attune to it. You lead not by volume, but by vibration. Chapter 9. Intuition. The bridge between logic and energy. Intuition is not a mystery. It is intelligence operating at a higher speed. It is the nervous system's ability to process subtle data long before logic has time to explain it. Where the mind reasons through steps, intuition leaps, not from magic, but from mastery of attention. It's the bridge where analysis meets awareness, where science meets soul. Everyone is intuitive. Few are trained to notice. In a conversation, you just know someone isn't fine, even though their smile is flawless. You sense danger before the facts appear, or opportunity before proof exists. That gut feeling is not irrational. It's a data-driven alert. Your subconscious, which records every sight, tone, and gesture you've ever witnessed, assembles patterns faster than your conscious mind can read them. Intuition is compressed experience, surfacing as sensation. Neuroscience confirms this. The body sends far more information to the brain than the brain sends to the body. The heart and gut, both packed with neurons, continuously interpret electromagnetic cues from the environment. What you feel as instinct is the conversation between your field and reality's field. When coherent, it translates as clarity. When clouded by fear, it distorts into confusion. The first step to sharpening intuition, then, is energetic cleanliness. A quiet field receives clearer signals. Logic is linear. Intuition is multidimensional. Logic asks why. Intuition simply knows. Both are essential, but when disconnected, you become either robotic or chaotic. The balance is art, using logic to test intuition and intuition to guide logic. The intuitive mind feels the destination. The logical mind builds the bridge. Together, they form precision. To strengthen intuition, cultivate stillness. Silence is not the absence of sound, it's the absence of interference. Most people can't hear intuition because their minds never stop broadcasting noise. You cannot detect a whisper when you're shouting inside. Meditative attention, steady breathing, relaxed gaze, open awareness reattunes your senses. As external chatter fades, subtle frequencies rise. A tug in the chest, a sudden clarity, a vision or word emerging from nowhere. This is not superstition. It's your inner antenna working properly. Intuition speaks the language of the body. A tight gut may signal danger. A warm expansion may signal truth. Pay attention to where each sensation lands. With time, you'll build a personal lexicon of energy. For example, contracted stomach might mean caution, while tingling crown might mean alignment. These signals are unique to you, the vocabulary of your inner compass. However, discernment is crucial. Fear can impersonate intuition. Desire can distort it. The difference lies in quality. Fear feels urgent, loud, demanding. Intuition feels calm, neutral, steady. One shouts, the other whispers. Fear drives you to escape. Intuition guides you to act. Learn this distinction, and you'll stop mistaking anxiety for warning or wishful thinking for insight. The spiritually aware describe intuition as the voice of higher intelligence, the soul communicating through sensation. From that lens, intuitive knowledge is connection to the unified field, the web of consciousness that links all living systems. When you receive an intuitive message, you are reading the energetic blueprint of reality itself, not imagining it. This is why collective events often feel imminent to sensitive individuals. Their systems register energetic shifts before the mind labels them. In practical life, intuition appears in micro-decisions, pausing before sending a message, choosing one route over another, sensing that a deal feels off, though it looks perfect on paper. The more you honor these instincts, the stronger they become. Each act of trust is like tuning an instrument. Ignore them long enough, and the strings dull. Logic calculates probability. Intuition calculates coherence. The first tells you what might happen. The second tells you what fits. When both align, when reason supports resonance, decision becomes effortless. You no longer chase certainty. You feel alignment. Intuition also enhances empathy. It allows you to sense what others cannot express. You perceive mood shifts before words form, detect hidden motives, or feel sincerity without needing evidence. But this sensitivity demands maturity. Without grounding, intuition turns to overwhelm. You absorb every vibration until you can't distinguish yours from theirs. The cure is clarity, daily grounding, breath work, and emotional boundaries. The cleaner your energy, the purer your perception. To train intuition scientifically, practice pattern recognition. Spend 5 minutes daily recalling the small cues you noticed before something happened. A tone, a gesture, a sudden thought. Review what proved accurate. Over time, your brain learns to flag those signals earlier. This is metacognition for intuition, teaching awareness to trust its own data. Remember, intuition is not mystical privilege. It's the original human technology. Before compasses and algorithms, our ancestors navigated through feeling. They read clouds, wind, animal behavior, all through sensory attunement. You inherit that capacity. You've simply been taught to ignore it. The highest intuition is not prediction, it's precision. It aligns you so deeply with the present that the next step becomes obvious. You no longer chase signs. Life itself becomes the sign. When logic exhausts and analysis loops, silence the mind and listen downward, into the chest, into the gut. The answer you hear there will not sound like thought. It will feel like recognition. That is intuition. Truth remembering itself. Chapter 10. Microexpressions, the fractal language of truth. Truth doesn't shout. It flickers, a flash across the eyes, a tremor at the corner of the mouth, a single muscle betraying what words deny. Microexpressions are nature's honesty mechanism, involuntary facial movements that last fractions of a second, revealing emotion before the conscious mind intervenes. In that brief instant, the mask slips, and if you're watching, you glimpse the unfiltered human core. Microexpressions are proof that the body and the soul are in constant conversation. They are not habits, nor manners. They are raw transmission from the limbic system, the emotional brain, straight to the face. Neuroscientists call them leakage of authentic emotion, but on a deeper level, they're evidence of the body's refusal to lie. Energy cannot counterfeit its own frequency. The face simply mirrors what the field feels. Every human emotion has a signature expression encoded in our biology. Across culture, language, and upbringing, these patterns remain constant because they originate from evolution, not society. Dr. Paul Ekman identified 7 core microexpressions: happiness, sadness, fear, anger, surprise, disgust, and contempt. Think of them as the primal alphabet of emotion. But beneath those 7 are subtle subtones, like musical notes, combinations that reveal complexity, relief laced with sorrow, pride tinged with guilt, love shadowed by doubt. The human face is an ever-changing constellation of these frequencies. Microexpressions last only 1/25th to 1/5 of a second, too fast for deliberate control, yet easily read by an attuned observer. To the intuitive reader, they are emotional Morse code, short, bright bursts of truth in a sea of performance. You don't stare to see them, you feel them. The key is peripheral vision, relaxed gaze, soft focus. Let the face speak to your nervous system before your intellect interprets it. Take happiness. Genuine joy activates the orbicularis oculi, the small muscles around the eyes. When they contract, the eyes crinkle. The Duchenne's smile. A fake smile, born of politeness or manipulation, stops at the mouth. The lips stretch, but the eyes remain flat. No sparkle, no warmth. Even if you don't consciously notice, your intuition does. You feel the dissonance, that invisible static between appearance and energy. Sadness draws the eyebrows upward and inward, softens the mouth, and slows movement. It's an implosion of energy, a gravitational pull inward. Fear widens the eyes and mouth, heightens alertness, energy surging outward, scanning for escape. Anger compresses, eyebrows down, jaw tight, nostrils flare. Its heat condensed into control. Disgust wrinkles the nose, as if the body itself rejects what the mind perceives. Surprise lifts everything, brows, eyes, jaw, for a flash, then resets. Contempt is asymmetric. One corner of the mouth lifts, its cold superiority, judgment in micro form. But the art of reading microexpressions goes beyond memorizing patterns. It requires attunement to timing. True emotion appears before speech. Fake emotion appears after. If a person says, "I'm thrilled," and then smiles a second later, the sequence is reversed. The intellect caught up to the act. The body hesitated. That delay is data. Context, too, transforms meaning. A flash of fear in a business meeting could mean anxiety about judgment, not deceit. A quick disgust expression during a conversation may signal disagreement with the idea, not the person. The goal isn't accusation, it's awareness. Reading microexpressions is not about catching lies, it's about catching humanity in motion. From a spiritual lens, microexpressions are energy eruptions, emotional photons released from the field. Every time someone feels, energy shifts, and the muscles, like sensors, adjust to translate the invisible into the visible. The more coherent a person's energy, the more congruent their face appears. Fragmented people, those torn between truth and performance, display constant micro-leakage. You can sense it. Their smile never fully lands. Their eyes flicker. Their energy feels divided. To train perception, begin with still observation. Watch interviews with the sound muted. Let your intuition tell you when emotion shifts. Replay moments in slow motion. Notice the instant before speech. That's when the truth surfaces. In real life, don't overanalyze. Feel the pulse behind expressions. If something in your body tightens when someone smiles, trust that signal. It's your nervous system recognizing incongruence, faster than thought. As your sensitivity sharpens, you'll notice microexpressions everywhere, not as judgments, but as insights. You'll sense when someone is holding back tears though they laugh, or when excitement is real versus rehearsed. You'll know when "I'm fine" means "I'm collapsing," or when "I'm sorry" is genuine. This isn't intrusion, it's empathy in high definition. In relationships, reading microexpressions deepens intimacy. You stop reacting to words and start responding to energy. You comfort before they confess, apologize before they withdraw, encourage before they break. It transforms connection from reactive to preemptive, from hearing late to feeling early. Yet, mastery demands humility. The goal is never to weaponize this skill. Seeing truth grants responsibility, to honor what you perceive without exploiting it. The universe reveals emotion to those who can hold it with compassion. When you read someone's microexpression, you are seeing the soul peek through the cracks. Treat that moment as sacred. Ultimately, the language of microexpressions is the language of energy. Brief, honest, universal. Every face you meet is a screen for invisible frequency. Every blink, twitch, and tremor is the body's way of saying, "Here is the truth I can't speak." When you learn to see these flickers, you no longer just look at people. You witness them. Chapter 11. Spotting manipulators. Seeing through the mask of control. Not everyone uses their ability to read others for connection. Some use it for control. Manipulators are emotional engineers. They study what you respond to, then design interactions to bend your perception. Their power lies not in truth, but in illusion. To detect them, you must read beneath charm, beneath words, beneath the rhythm of their attention. Manipulators operate through energetic imbalance. They take more than they give, distort your emotional compass until you question your own intuition, and feed on your reactions to maintain control. The moment you start explaining yourself repeatedly, doubting your memory, or feeling exhausted after every exchange, that's your signal. Your energy is being siphoned. The psychology behind manipulation is simple: fear and ego. Manipulators fear loss of control, rejection, or exposure. To protect themselves, they craft strategies that keep them in power while appearing innocent. This isn't always conscious. Some learned it as survival. But the result is the same: confusion in the victim, control in the manipulator. You'll recognize them by their frequency. They often enter your life with overwhelming warmth, praise, attention, generosity, a glow that feels intoxicating. But energy that rushes in too fast always has motive. Genuine connection flows naturally. Manipulation arrives rehearsed. Observe the pacing. If trust feels accelerated beyond logic, pause. Love, friendship, or partnership cannot be microwaved. Once you're emotionally open, the manipulator begins the distortion phase. They subtly invalidate your perceptions. That never happened. You're too sensitive. Everyone else agrees with me. They'll rewrite conversations, reverse blame, or exaggerate their suffering to make you the cause. This is not communication. It's control disguised as vulnerability. From a spiritual scientific lens, manipulation thrives in low coherence. When your nervous system is chaotic, tired, anxious, uncertain, you become suggestible. Your energetic boundaries thin, and foreign vibrations enter easily. That's why manipulators target empathy. Kind people are open systems. The antidote isn't closing your heart. It's strengthening your field. Emotional intelligence becomes armor when paired with self-trust. Every manipulator runs predictable scripts, charm, and idealize. They mirror your values to gain trust. Test boundaries. Small requests escalate slowly until you normalize overgiving. Create dependency. They make you believe only they understand you. Confuse reality. Through gaslighting and mixed signals, they weaken your clarity. Withdraw validation. Once you chase their approval, control is complete. Watch not just what they say, but how you feel after interactions. True connection leaves you expanded, energized, and grounded. Manipulation leaves you tense, doubting, and drained. Your body is a truth detector. No one can fake frequency for long. Energetically, manipulation feels like static, a subtle distortion field that scrambles intuition. You'll sense it in inconsistencies. Smiling eyes that feel cold, apologies that arrive without remorse, praise that sounds hollow. Their words and energy never fully match. This incongruence is their fingerprint. Once you learn to feel it, you can't unsee it. When confronting a manipulator, your calm is your power. They feed on reaction, anger, pleading, defensiveness. Because those states lower your coherence. Respond with neutrality. Mirror their statements without absorbing them. That's interesting you see it that way. I remember it differently. Their scripts crumble when you don't play your part. Boundaries are not walls. They are filters. You don't need to shut people out. You need to tune your field. Hold your energy high and stable, and low-frequency behavior cannot attach. Manipulators sense when they can't enter your system and will either adapt or disappear. Don't chase closure. Energetic withdrawal is closure. From the lens of spiritual science, manipulation is an energy exchange born of lack. The manipulator unconsciously believes they cannot generate their own light, so they take from others. Seeing this doesn't excuse their actions, but it reframes your response. You protect your peace, not out of revenge, but compassion. You refuse to participate in their imbalance. Empaths often confuse compassion with tolerance. Compassion observes suffering. Tolerance absorbs it. The former heals, the latter harms. When you spot manipulation, the most loving act is distance. Truth doesn't require proximity. There are two frequencies every manipulator fears: clarity and consistency. Clarity exposes confusion. Consistency dissolves chaos. When your words, energy, and actions align, you become unreadable to those who depend on distortion. They cannot twist what you've anchored. If you've been manipulated, don't turn cynical. Use it as initiation. It teaches discernment, the ability to love with eyes open. Manipulation only thrives where unhealed patterns live. The need for validation, fear of abandonment, guilt over saying no. Heal those, and no one can use them against you again. Remember, protection isn't isolation, it's vibration. The more grounded, self-aware, and coherent your energy becomes, the less manipulation can touch you. You no longer need to fight it. You simply don't resonate with it. And in that state, you finally see manipulation for what it truly is: the shadow's desperate attempt to control what it doesn't understand. Your light. Chapter 12. Body clusters. The geometry of human energy. Every gesture has meaning, but no gesture stands alone. Just as one note cannot form a melody, one movement cannot tell the truth. Real understanding emerges only when you see patterns. Clusters of signals aligning into one emotional equation. These clusters are the geometry of human energy, multiple points forming a coherent shape that reveals intent. Think of a person's body as a constellation. One crossed arm means little, but crossed arms plus a backward lean, plus compressed lips, plus feet pointing toward the exit. Now the pattern speaks: withdrawal, defense, or discomfort. The art of reading body clusters is the art of seeing patterns in motion, not snapshots in isolation. Science confirms this. Over 60% of communication is nonverbal. The human nervous system mirrors emotional states through posture, tone, and micro-movement before the conscious brain forms words. These signals don't lie because they occur beneath awareness. When multiple signals align, what behavioral analysts call congruence clusters, the body broadcasts truth at high volume. Let's explore several common clusters, both in behavioral terms and energetic terms. Openness and engagement. Cluster: uncrossed limbs, torso angled forward, steady eye contact, relaxed shoulders, exposed palms or wrists. Energetically, the field expands. You'll sense warmth, inclusion, a subtle pull toward them. Their heart energy is projecting outward. Defensiveness or withdrawal cluster. Arms or legs crossed, chin tucked, shoulders raised, lips tight, minimal eye contact. Energetically, contraction. Their energy pulls inward, boundaries harden, vibration feels cold or static. This isn't always hostility. Sometimes it's self-protection, dominance and authority. Cluster. Upright posture, slow, deliberate gestures, hands behind back or on hips, chin lifted, chest expanded. Energetically, field projects vertically. You feel heat and pressure, a force asserting its place in the hierarchy. True authority feels stable. False authority feels inflated and brittle. Nervousness and deception. Cluster. Fidgeting fingers, self-touch, neck, face, throat clearing, inconsistent gestures, shallow breathing. Energetically, dissonance. Their mental signal, stay calm, conflicts with emotional truth, I'm threatened. The field fluctuates rapidly, like static on a radio, attraction and affection. Cluster. Mirroring posture, leaning closer, pupils dilated, head tilts, frequent smiles, subtle touches. Energetically, resonance. Two fields begin synchronizing. You feel rhythm, flow, and mutual openness. This is connection at a frequency level, not just behavior. Boredom or disinterest cluster. Slouched posture, gaze drifting, foot tapping, disengaged facial expression. Energetically, flatline. Their vibration lowers, the energy exchange collapses. Words continue, but presence leaves the body. Stress or inner conflict. Cluster. Tense shoulders, jaw clenching, rubbing forehead, erratic breathing, inconsistent expressions. Energetically, turbulence. The mind and body pull in opposite directions. When this appears, pause. The person's system is overloaded. Reading clusters requires still observation. Don't rush to label. Let the entire body speak. Most people focus on faces, but the body is the first to reveal truth. The feet, for example, are honest storytellers. They point toward desire and away from discomfort long before the person realizes it. Shoulders signal readiness or retreat. The neck and hands betray emotion faster than the mouth can conceal it. To perceive clusters accurately, combine pattern recognition with energetic empathy. The scientist sees the data. The empath feels the frequency. Together, they form precision. When logic and intuition converge on the same conclusion, trust it. From the lens of spiritual science, clusters represent harmonics, the way emotion organizes energy into form. Joy expands outward symmetrically. Fear contracts downward asymmetrically. Anger shoots forward. Sadness collapses inward. If you could see energy, you'd witness these emotions sculpting the aura into distinct geometries. The body simply echoes those blueprints. Training tip. Watch videos without sound and note when multiple signals align. For instance, when someone nods, smiles faintly, and leans forward at once, the cluster screams, agreement. But if they nod while lips tighten and eyes narrow, that's false agreement, a polite no disguised as yes. The cluster, not the action, tells you the truth. When you become fluent in clusters, you realize that the body is not random. It is rhythm. Every person you meet plays a song of movement. Some songs are harmonious, some discordant, but all are honest. Awareness of clusters also deepens self-awareness. You begin to notice your own geometry, how your shoulders lift when anxious, how your fingers close when you feel judged, how your chest opens when inspired. By adjusting posture, you don't just change appearance, you alter energy. Straighten your spine, breathe deep, uncross your arms. Your field instantly expands. Emotion follows posture as much as posture follows emotion. The wise reader never weaponizes observation. You don't use clusters to manipulate. You use them to harmonize. When you see contraction, you soften. When you see expansion, you match it. When you sense stress, you ground. Reading clusters is not about decoding others. It's about tuning the shared field toward coherence. In essence, the body is the map of the soul. Each movement is a coordinate. When you connect those coordinates, the landscape of emotion appears. And when you can see that landscape clearly, without judgment, without rush, you hold one of the rarest powers in the human world: the ability to understand before being told. Chapter 13. Building Trust Through Observation, from Reader to Connector. Reading people is powerful, but understanding people and making them feel understood is transformational. Observation alone grants knowledge. Observation with empathy builds trust. The difference between a manipulator and a master communicator is intent. One reads to control, the other reads to connect. When your intention is pure, your perception becomes medicine. Trust is not built through grand gestures. It's built through small acts of precision. The way you listen, the way your eyes soften when someone reveals truth, the way your energy says, "I'm here," without needing words. Every human being carries a radar for sincerity. You can't fake the vibration of genuine presence. When your attention becomes still, people's defenses collapse. To build trust, you must first release judgment. The moment you label someone arrogant, weak, needy, you stop seeing them. Judgment freezes perception. Empathy expands it. True observation is curiosity without agenda. You're not trying to diagnose or decode. You're witnessing. The very act of seeing someone without trying to change them heals more than advice ever could. Here's the paradox. People open up most to those who don't demand it. When your energy is calm, your gaze non-invasive, your questions gentle, you become safe space. The nervous system recognizes safety before the mind does. A subtle softening in their shoulders, slower breathing, eyes dilating slightly. These are signs you've crossed from observer to connector. You've earned trust not by words, but by resonance. There's a spiritual science behind this. Heart coherence research shows that your electromagnetic field extends several feet beyond your body. When you maintain coherence, calm heart rhythm, steady breath, your field synchronizes others toward the same frequency. This isn't theory, it's physics. Your stability literally regulates their instability. Trust, therefore, is an energetic event before it's an emotional one. One of the most powerful techniques for building trust is emotional mirroring. This isn't mimicry, it's alignment. You meet someone at their energetic level, then guide them upward. If they speak softly, you lower your tone. If they pause, you pause. You show you're listening with your entire presence, not just your ears. When they feel felt, safety blooms, and from safety, truth follows. Trust is also built through consistency of observation. Remembering details, their child's name, the project they feared, the book they loved, signals that your attention wasn't casual. Attention is the purest currency of love. In a distracted world, focus is devotion. When people realize you remember them, they unconsciously relax, respond to what's unspoken. If someone says, "I'm fine," but their voice cracks, gently reflect, "You sure? You sound a little off today." The phrase "you sound" or "you seem" creates a bridge. It acknowledges emotion without intrusion. But timing matters. Don't spotlight vulnerability in public. Wait for privacy, for stillness, for a moment when silence can hold truth safely. Another way to deepen trust is vulnerability reciprocity. When you share a piece of your truth first, you invite theirs. It's energetic permission. But share cleanly. without oversharing or shifting focus back to you. Say enough to show humanness, not to seek sympathy. Vulnerability, when balanced, builds bridges without blurring boundaries. Trust grows through energetic attunement. You feel their tempo, fast or slow, guarded or open, and adjust accordingly. You don't rush the quiet or overtalk the shy. You create space for them to exist as they are. In that space, something sacred happens. They start breathing easier. The human spirit recognizes when it's finally not being performed at. In psychological terms, this is called attunement. In spiritual terms, it's resonance. When your vibration harmonizes with theirs, communication transcends words. The right response arises intuitively, sometimes silence, sometimes laughter, sometimes nothing more than presence. This is mastery, to know when to speak and when to simply be there. But don't mistake empathy for enabling. True trust doesn't mean agreement. It means honesty delivered with respect. When someone's pattern harms themselves or others, gentle truth builds deeper trust than avoidance. Say, I see what you're feeling, and I also see what it's doing to you. Truth, when spoken from love, is never cruelty. It's clarity in service of growth. Observe how great leaders and healers build trust. They don't rush to impress or dominate. They slow down the room. They make people feel seen, not sized up. Their presence changes physiology. Heart rate drops, tension dissolves, breath deepens. This is not charisma, it's coherence. Their inner calm organizes the energy around them. To practice, start small. In daily interactions, focus on seeing rather than showing. Look at someone with no intent to reply. Let your eyes say, I'm not analyzing you, I'm with you. When you leave that interaction, notice how your body feels. You'll sense lightness. That's resonance achieved. The secret of deep connection is this. When people feel profoundly seen, they naturally trust you. Because in your presence, they finally trust themselves. And that is the highest form of influence. Not persuasion, not dominance, but alignment. Chapter 14. The Art of Calibration. Adjusting your energy with precision. Reading people gives you data. Calibration transforms that data into mastery. It is the art of adjusting your energy, tone, and timing in real time, aligning your presence to what the moment requires. A master calibrator doesn't just observe. They respond with consciousness. They read shifts in the field, a raised eyebrow, a drop in tone, a pause in breath, and adjust seamlessly, guiding energy toward harmony instead of collision. Calibration is not performance. It is awareness in motion. It's the difference between reacting and orchestrating, between forcing and flowing. Every interaction has a rhythm, a pulse of openness or resistance, expansion or contraction. Most people talk over that rhythm, trying to push their message through static, but a calibrated communicator feels it first, then speaks. The result is precision that feels effortless. Imagine walking into a room. Before a word is spoken, you sense its frequency, tense, chaotic, or calm. A reactive person adapts unconsciously, matching chaos with more chaos. A calibrated person adjusts deliberately, lowering their voice, slowing their breath, grounding the space. They become the tuning fork that resets the collective vibration. In physics, this is entrainment. Weaker frequencies synchronize to the stronger one. Your calm nervous system becomes the dominant field. To calibrate effectively, you must first cultivate presence. You cannot adjust to what you do not perceive. Presence means being fully in your body, aware of breath, sensation, and subtle cues around you. When you are mentally elsewhere, you miss the micro signals that tell you when someone disengages, resists, or softens. Calibration starts in stillness, not strategy. There are 4 main dimensions of calibration: tone, timing, energy, and boundary. 1. Tone calibration, matching emotion before guiding it. Every voice carries vibration. When someone is angry or defensive, meeting them with logic only amplifies distance. The emotionally intelligent calibrator first matches their energy to establish resonance, a calm firmness to mirror intensity, a gentle tone to meet sadness. Once rapport forms, you slowly shift your tone toward the energy you want to create. Speak warmth into coldness, steadiness into chaos. It's energetic aikido, redirecting force rather than opposing it. 2. Timing. Calibration. Speaking when the field is ready. Words land only when the emotional field is open. If someone's energy is closed, your message, no matter how wise, will bounce off. The key is patience. Wait for their body to relax, for their eyes to meet yours, for their breath to deepen. That's your entry point. Sometimes silence is the most strategic calibration, the pause that lets emotion settle so clarity can return. 3. Energy calibration, regulating the invisible conversation. Every interaction is an exchange of frequency. You can feel when someone's energy invades or retreats. Calibration means adjusting your own frequency to maintain equilibrium. If someone is loud and dominating, lower your tone. They will subconsciously follow. If someone is timid, add gentle strength. Your goal is coherence, not control. This requires sensitivity without absorption. Feel the energy, but don't let it rewrite yours. 4. Boundary calibration. Knowing when not to adjust. Not all alignment is harmony. Some frequencies are too chaotic or manipulative to engage. In those cases, calibration means withdrawal. You hold your vibration steady while reducing exposure. Refusing to match dysfunction is a form of mastery. You don't need to fix every field you enter. Sometimes, the higher act of calibration is disengagement. Calibration also applies to groups. In leadership, emotional temperature changes constantly. One joke lands flat. Energy drops. A revelation excites the crowd. Energy spikes. A calibrated leader reads these fluctuations instantly, adjusting voice, pacing, even silence to maintain coherence. They don't force attention. They guide it rhythmically, like a conductor managing tempo. From a scientific view, calibration is entrainment of nervous systems. From a spiritual view, it's energy alchemy. You transform dissonance into resonance, friction into flow. You do this not by manipulation, but by coherence, stabilizing yourself so others unconsciously reorganize around your steadiness. To train this skill, practice energetic listening. When someone speaks, don't focus on words. Sense their underlying vibration. Is it fear, pride, sadness, or openness? Then, before replying, adjust your internal state to meet it. If you feel irritation, slow your breath. If you feel drained, imagine rerouting into the ground. If you feel chaos, visualize expanding calm light through your chest. Speak only once your energy matches the message you wish to send. Calibration also extends to self-communication. You can't regulate others if you can't regulate yourself. Notice your own fluctuations, when your voice tightens, when your body contracts, when impatience rises. Instead of suppressing, breathe through. Bring awareness to your own rhythm until it steadies. The world mirrors your internal climate. At the highest level, calibration becomes intuitive. You stop analyzing and start feeling time. You know instinctively when to speak, when to pause, when to walk away. You sense shifts in air pressure, emotional tone, micro-energy currents, and move with them like water shaping stone. Your presence becomes both mirror and guide. This is the secret of the master communicator. They never force connection, they tune it. Through calibration, they dissolve resistance without confrontation, create trust without pleading, and lead without dominance. People walk away from them not feeling persuaded, but understood, because what they felt was coherence. In a reactive world, calibration is rare. Most people broadcast noise. The few who can adjust with grace hold silent power. They move through conversations like wind through forest, unseen, yet everything bends toward their calm. Chapter 15. The Master Reader. Becoming a mirror, not a mask. Mastery in reading people is not about power. It is about presence. It is not about outsmarting others. It is about understanding life itself through the lens of human energy. When you reach this level, you no longer chase influence because you have become influence. Your very stillness reorganizes the space around you. The master reader has nothing to prove. They no longer need to display knowledge or control outcomes. They walk through rooms with quiet clarity, sensing tension, truth, and tenderness all at once. Yet they remain untouched by chaos. They see everything, but they judge nothing. Their perception is a mirror so clear that others recognize themselves within it. This level of mastery is born not from technique, but from purity of attention. When your observation becomes unconditional, not for advantage, not for defense, but for truth, your awareness transcends psychology and enters the realm of consciousness. You stop reading people and start reading patterns of energy. Every word, movement, and silence reveals the universe expressing itself through human form. The master reader embodies three principles: humility, coherence, and compassion. Humility keeps perception honest. You understand that no matter how much you see, you will never see everything. Every person carries a cosmos within, infinite experiences, unseen battles, untold dreams. To read deeply is to honor mystery. The moment you think you've figured someone out, you've reduced a galaxy to a grain of sand. The wise reader stays curious. Coherence keeps perception clean. When your inner world is disordered, your observations distort. Your fears, biases, and wounds tint your vision. But when you live in alignment, thoughts, emotions, and actions moving in one rhythm, you become transparent enough to see truth as it is. Your nervous system becomes a calibrated instrument, capable of detecting subtlest frequencies. Compassion keeps perception sacred. Without love, awareness becomes surveillance. The master reader doesn't dissect people. They witness them. They can look into anger and see grief, into arrogance and see insecurity, into silence and see depth. Compassion transforms judgment into wisdom. It reminds you that everyone is doing their best with the awareness they have. From a scientific lens, mastery of perception is advanced neurosynchrony. Your brain and body mirroring another's without losing self-boundary. From a spiritual lens, it's energetic oneness. The realization that beneath all personality, we are waves in the same ocean. You don't read others from the outside. You recognize yourself through them. To reach this state, inner work is non-negotiable. You must examine your own triggers, biases, and emotional history. Each unhealed wound blurs your clarity. The master reader cleans their lens daily through reflection, solitude, and humility. They know that true sight begins inward. Practice this. In your next conversation, Don't try to analyze. Just be. Feel the rhythm of breath, the pauses between sentences, the emotional texture in the air. Let the person unfold at their own pace. Say less. Watch more. Notice how truth reveals itself when not forced. Most people will tell you everything through silence if you know how to listen to quiet. At this level, intuition and logic merge seamlessly. You sense truth not as information, but as recognition, a vibration that simply feels right. You no longer doubt it, because your inner coherence validates it instantly. You can sit across from someone, feel their intention before they speak, and know how to respond without calculation. This is not magic, it's mastery through mindfulness. The master reader also practices emotional sovereignty. They feel everything but absorb nothing. They can stand in another's storm and remain centered, not because they are detached, but because they are anchored. They know where they end and others begin. Boundaries are their quiet power. They give presence without losing peace. When you reach this state, people change in your presence, not because you try to change them, but because your clarity awakens theirs. Your stillness becomes a mirror in which they see their reflection clearly for the first time. Sometimes that reflection comforts them. Sometimes it challenges them. Either way, transformation begins. You will notice that people talk differently around you. They become more authentic, more vulnerable, even without knowing why. It's because your energy gives permission. You are not performing awareness. You are awareness. You hold space so wide that truth has room to breathe. The final paradox of mastery is this: the more you understand people, the less you need to. You no longer analyze, label, or anticipate. You simply trust what your perception delivers in the moment. You have integrated intellect, intuition, and empathy into one steady awareness. You no longer read people. You recognize them. From a cosmic perspective, the master reader is not a role. It is a state of being. It is what happens when human consciousness evolves beyond defense and control, returning to its original function: connection. The ultimate goal of understanding others is to realize unity, to dissolve the illusion of separation. When you see the same life force behind every pair of eyes, the game of reading ends. What remains is reverence. So walk through the world gently. Watch without owning. Listen without interrupting. Feel without fear. Let your awareness become mirror clear, reflecting not judgment, but truth. And in that stillness, you'll embody the essence of mastery. Not the one who reads the most, but the one who sees the deepest. Because true mastery is not about decoding people. It's about remembering humanity. Chapter 16. Silence. The final language of understanding. There comes a point in this path when words no longer suffice. Observation matures into stillness. Perception refines into presence, and the need to interpret dissolves. What remains is silence, not emptiness, but the highest frequency of comprehension. Silence is the space where truth gathers its strength. It is where energy reveals what words conceal. Those who cannot sit in silence never truly see, because they are still filling the air with their own noise. The deeper you travel into the art of reading people, the more you realize that silence reads better than speech. Most communication is reaction. True connection, however, is reception. When you are silent, not outwardly mute, but inwardly still, you allow the other person's frequency to arrive, unfiltered. You sense what their words distort, what their gestures hesitate to express. You feel the entire emotional field move through the quiet. In that still space, understanding becomes instant, almost telepathic. This is why great healers, mentors, and leaders are comfortable with pauses. They don't rush to fill them. They know that in silence, the nervous system reorganizes. In silence, truth rises. Sometimes the most powerful response is none at all. A nod, a breath, an unspoken acknowledgement that says, "I hear what you didn't say." Silence is not passive. It's dynamic awareness. It's attention stripped of agenda. When you enter silence intentionally, you shift from reading people to feeling the collective field. You perceive not just the person before you, but the shared human current that passes through all of us: grief, longing, hope, love. You start recognizing patterns not as behaviors, but as vibrations of life itself. In scientific terms, silence increases coherence. The brain's default mode network quiets. Heart rhythm steadies. Empathy heightens. The body becomes a fine-tuned receiver for microsignals that ordinary noise drowns out. In spiritual terms, silence is attunement to the source. The frequency of consciousness before thought divides it into categories. To practice this level of perception, begin with simple presence. When someone speaks, resist the urge to prepare your reply. Let silence hold you both. Feel what the moment wants before forcing direction. Sometimes it asks for compassion. Sometimes it asks for truth. Sometimes it asks for nothing, only space. That's when real healing happens, when nothing needs to be said for everything to be felt. Silence also protects truth. Not every insight needs to be voiced. A master reader knows that revelation without readiness is violence. You may see more than someone can face. You may sense patterns they are not yet strong enough to confront. In those moments, your silence becomes mercy. Understanding does not always demand articulation. Sometimes it demands restraint. There's another dimension to silence: internal quiet. True perception requires the discipline to silence your own projections. You can't read clearly through the static of your ego. What do they think of me? Am I right? Do I sound wise? That inner noise distorts everything. When the mind quiets, awareness expands outward, becoming panoramic. You begin to see the scene, not just the person. You read the entire orchestration of energy at once. With time, silence becomes not absence, but presence magnified. In it, every movement becomes symphonic. The way someone inhales before lying, the tremor before confession, the eye flicker that betrays affection. You see more not because you strain harder, but because you interfere less. Eventually, silence changes you. You stop chasing insight. You stop needing to prove intuition. You become a vessel through which understanding flows naturally. People will tell you, "You make me feel calm. I can't explain why, but you understand me." It's not because you've said the right thing. It's because your silence allowed their truth to surface. The highest readers do not speak the most. They listen to what can't be spoken. They hear energy moving through the unsaid, the way light listens to shadow. And that is the final lesson. The deeper your awareness grows, the less you need to interpret. The quieter you become, the clearer you see. Silence is not the end of communication. It is where communication returns to its source. When you can hold another human in absolute silence, no judgment, no rescue, no need to be right, you have reached the summit of understanding. You have moved beyond analysis into reverence. Because in the end, to read people is to remember that behind every gesture, every tone, every guarded word, there is the same quiet voice, whispering the same universal truth. I just want to be seen. And when you can meet that whisper with your silence, you have finally learned the highest language of all. Chapter 17. The Ethics of Seeing. When perception becomes responsibility, to see deeply is to hold power, and every form of power carries weight. The more attuned you become, the more effortlessly you sense tension, deception, or vulnerability, the greater the moral responsibility you carry. Because perception, without integrity, becomes manipulation. The same awareness that can heal can also harm if guided by ego. Understanding people is not a license to control them. It is an invitation to protect what you know. Every insight you gain into another's energy is sacred data, earned through sensitivity, not ownership. To weaponize it, even subtly, corrupts the very frequency that gave you perception in the first place. Awareness grows in truth. It withers in agenda. The ethical reader practices 3 disciplines: restraint, neutrality, and compassion. Restraint means you do not reveal everything you see. You may sense a lie, but choose silence if exposing it would wound rather than awaken. You may perceive someone's fear, but respect their pace instead of forcing confrontation. Restraint isn't weakness, it's stewardship. It's the understanding that awareness is sacred technology, and not everyone is ready for its voltage. Neutrality is the foundation of clear sight. When you read through bias, liking, disliking, moral judgment, or emotional reactivity, you distort energy through your own filter. True vision requires detachment without coldness. You see the wound without condemning the wounded. You understand motive without excusing harm. Neutrality allows you to hold paradox. People can cause pain and still be in pain. They can manipulate and still crave love. Compassion gives meaning to perception. Without compassion, insight turns sterile, clever, but heartless. Compassion translates observation into wisdom because it restores the human context. You remember that everyone's behavior, even destructive behavior, comes from a search for safety. When you see this clearly, forgiveness becomes possible, not as permission, but as release. The deeper truth of energy reading is this: the universe will only reveal as much as you can handle with integrity. If you misuse your awareness, gossip, exploit, or manipulate, your intuition dulls. Clarity fades. You cannot violate truth and remain sensitive to it. But if you honor what you see, your perception expands exponentially. The universe trusts responsible instruments. One of the most subtle ethical traps is spiritual superiority. The ego loves to disguise itself as insight. I can see through people easily becomes, I am above them. But the moment you feel superior, you lose resonance. Humility keeps the channel open. Remember, clarity is not personal achievement. It's alignment with reality. You don't own truth. You serve it. There will be moments when seeing deeply hurts. You'll recognize manipulation, insecurity, or betrayal before others do. And you'll have to choose between truth and comfort. Ethical mastery means choosing truth with grace, not arrogance. Sometimes that means walking away quietly, letting karma teach what words cannot. Use your gift to lift, not to expose. If you sense darkness in someone, don't announce it. Embody light so strongly that it reveals itself naturally. Illumination is more powerful than accusation. When you hold clean energy, lies collapse under their own weight. Ethics also means knowing your limit. There are situations too toxic, too volatile, too far from coherence for your presence to heal. Walking away isn't failure, it's preservation. A depleted empath cannot serve anyone. Boundaries protect both reader and subject. They keep energy exchanges sacred. From a universal perspective, the purpose of perception is not advantage, it's evolution. You were given sight to restore harmony, to turn chaos into understanding, fear into empathy. The more accurately you see, the more gently you must act. Every encounter is a test. Will you use perception to elevate or to dominate? Will you mirror truth or manipulate it? Each choice shapes your vibration. Over time, your integrity becomes your frequency. Those with pure intent radiate calm. Those who exploit awareness carry heaviness. Energy never lies. When you begin to live ethically with your perception, something beautiful happens. Your sensitivity sharpens and softens at once. You see more clearly, but with more love. Judgment fades. People stop being puzzles to solve and become souls to witness. You realize that true mastery is not seeing more. It's loving more accurately. So protect your gift. Guard your sight. And when you read people, read them the way sunlight reads a forest. Not to expose shadows, but to help things grow. Because in the end, awareness is not about power. It's about responsibility. It's about holding what you see with reverence. To see clearly is divine. To act kindly after seeing, that is enlightenment. Chapter 18. The Return to Stillness. Reading yourself. Every path that begins with looking outward must end by turning inward. After all the faces you have studied, all the frequencies you have felt, all the truths you have witnessed, there remains one field you must still learn to read, your own. Because the purpose of understanding others was never about decoding them. It was to bring you home. Every gesture you recognized in another lived somewhere inside you. Every defense, every longing, every vibration of fear or love, all of it was a mirror. The world was never your classroom. It was your reflection. Reading yourself is the highest discipline and the hardest. You cannot charm or manipulate your way through it. You can only be honest. To read yourself means to observe your mind without flinching, to trace every emotion back to its origin, to see the moment your energy rises and the moment it fractures. It means asking, what part of me tightens when I'm judged? What wound speaks when I need control? What frequency do I broadcast when I am afraid to lose? The answers are not intellectual. They are embodied. Feel them. Every time your voice trembles, your jaw clenches, or your heart hardens, your body is writing a sentence about your inner truth. The same language you used to read others now becomes your mirror. When you truly see yourself, arrogance dissolves. You stop pretending to know what others should be. You realize how similar all human patterns are. How much of what we call personality is simply pain wearing structure. Compassion deepens, judgment softens. You forgive faster because you recognize the same fragments in you. Self-reading is also self-liberation. You start noticing how your own energy changes across environments, how you contract in fear-based spaces and expand around safety. You begin regulating your frequency, not through willpower, but awareness. When you catch yourself leaking energy through worry, resentment, or overthinking, you return to breath, to neutrality. Awareness itself becomes your reset button. Eventually, the practice becomes quiet. You stop analyzing and start sensing. The observer and the observed merge. You no longer watch yourself from distance. You inhabit yourself fully. This is what the mystics called presence. It is not thought. It is being. And in that being, something extraordinary unfolds. The separation between you and others fades. You realize that every time you read a person, you were actually reading consciousness, expressing itself in a different shape. Their fear was your fear. Their light, your light. There was never an other, only reflections across the field. From the psychological view, this is integration, the conscious and unconscious becoming one. From the spiritual view, it is unity, the drop remembering the ocean. From the human view, it is peace. When you reach this place, there is no need to prove your sensitivity or explain your insight. You see without staring, hear without listening, know without effort. Life becomes transparent. You walk through noise untouched, not because you are detached, but because you finally belong to everything. Reading yourself daily is how you stay aligned. Before every decision, feel your vibration. Is it grounded or rushed, expansive or defensive, driven by love or by fear? If the frequency is distorted, pause. Stillness will correct it. Truth doesn't shout. It waits for quiet to return. This is the full circle. You began by studying faces. Then you learned to sense energy. Then you mastered calibration, ethics, and silence. And now, you arrive where all paths converge. Within, in stillness, you no longer read life. You become readable by life. You are transparent enough for the universe to move through you. You don't chase signs. You are the sign. And so the book ends, not with mastery over others, but with reconciliation with yourself. Because the final lesson is simple. To understand people is to understand energy. To understand energy is to understand yourself. And to understand yourself is to finally understand everything.